Hey everyone, happy Palm Sunday. Today we're going to continue our Easter unit and we're going to talk about leadership, what it means to be a leader, and who in our lives are leaders. So I think the best thing to do to start is to define what being a leader is. And a leader is anyone who rules, guides, inspires, or influences others. You know what I love about that definition is the word anyone. Anyone can be a leader. Even you. So who are some leaders in your lives? Who inspires you? Who influences you? You know, I put a worksheet down below that you can click that gives you the opportunity to list different leaders and what their responsibilities are. And maybe if you know anyone particular who fills that role. An example would be a pastor. A pastor is a leader. He or she guides people, teaches them, leads us in worship. Do you know anyone like that? Of course, Pastor Michael, he is a tremendous leader. You know, being a leader is important because a leader's words or actions can have an effect on so many people. In fact, one of my favorite quotes comes from Mother Teresa, who says, "I alone cannot change the world, but I can cast a stone across the waters to create many ripples." Think about that for a second. One person's actions can affect so many others. And that's leadership. Now, the problem with some leaders is that sometimes they don't always make the right decisions. Which brings us to our Easter story today. We continue our Easter unit by looking at the rulers, the leaders of their communities, who made both good and bad decisions regarding Jesus' life. This includes religious leaders, chief priests, elders, teachers of the law, people that had a significant influence and power over people. We're going to read a story from the Gospel Mark, and we're going to see if the leaders' decisions were good ones or bad ones, and what effect they had on the people. Check it out.
As soon as morning came, the chief priests with the elders and the scribes, that is, the whole Sanhedrin, held a council. They bound Jesus, led him away, and handed him over to Pilate. Pilate questioned him, "Are you the king of the Jews?" He said to him in reply, "You say so." The chief priests accused him of many things. Again Pilate questioned him, "Have you no answer? See how many things they accuse you of?" Jesus gave him no further answer, so that Pilate was amazed. Now on the occasion of the feast, he used to release to them one prisoner whom they requested. A man called Barabbas was then in prison, along with the rebels who had committed murder in a rebellion. The crowd came forward and began to ask him to do for them as he was accustomed. Pilate answered, "Do you want me to release to you the king of the Jews?" For he knew that it was out of envy that the chief priests had handed him over. But the chief priests stirred up the crowd to have him release Barabbas for them instead. Pilate again said to them in reply, "Then what do you want me to do with the man you call the king of the Jews?" They shouted again, "Crucify him!" Pilate said to them, "Why? What evil has he done?" They only shouted louder, "Crucify him!" So Pilate, wishing to satisfy the crowd, released Barabbas to them, and after he had Jesus scourged, handed him over to be crucified.
So what we have here are these people of great power. We have elders and teachers and chief priests, and they all seem to have a common goal, and that was to stop Jesus. See, they felt threatened by him. Jealous is probably a good word to use. They thought Jesus was taking away their power, their rule over the people. So they got together and had him arrested. And they brought Jesus to the governor Pilate, who kind of stays neutral in all this. See, instead of using his power and leadership to set Jesus free, which he knew Jesus shouldn't have been arrested. He didn't want to be the one who determines Jesus' fate, so he put it to the people. Put it to the people to make the decision. Of course, the elders and the council and the chief priests, they used their power and their leadership to influence the people to turn on Jesus, which ultimately led Jesus to the cross to die. In this story, these leaders did not make the best choices. But if you read a little bit into Mark after Jesus' death, you'll read about a man who I feel showed extreme leadership. And his name was Joseph. And he did something that we can all learn from. Let's check it out.
Now when evening had already come, since it was the day of preparation, that is the day before the Sabbath, Joseph of Arimathea, a highly regarded member of the council, who was himself looking forward to the kingdom of God, went boldly to Pilate and asked for the body of Jesus. Pilate was surprised that he was already dead. He called the centurion and asked him if he had been dead for some time. When Pilate was informed by the centurion, he gave the body to Joseph. Nicodemus, the man who had previously come to Jesus at night, accompanied Joseph, carrying a mixture of myrrh and aloes weighing about 75 pounds. And they took Jesus' body and wrapped it with the aromatic spices in strips of linen cloth according to Jewish burial customs. Now at the place where Jesus was crucified, there was a garden, and in the garden was a new tomb where no one had yet been buried. And so, because it was the Jewish day of preparation, and the tomb was nearby, they placed Jesus' body there.
So here we have Joseph, a member of the council, part of this group that just put Jesus to death, pretty much risks everything to go to Pilate and ask for Jesus' body so he can give him a proper burial. He knew that the other council members wouldn't like this. He knew that it would not sit well with others. But he knew it was the right thing to do. See, being a leader requires you to use your mind and your heart to make decisions that will impact others in a positive way. Jesus taught us that. The leaders made decisions to impact only themselves. Hopefully we can take their bad decisions and learn from them. So, my question for you today, how can you be a leader? How can you affect people around you in a positive way? How can your words and your actions leave an impact, a positive impact on people around you? Take some time this week to think about that, and have a wonderful Easter. Bye.